Okay, I'm here with Craig Hunter, the president, CEO, the head cheese of Tire Reclaim. I'm really excited to chat with you. I do not know. I know a fair amount, I think, about metal recycling. I don't know a lot about the other types of recycling out there, and I need to educate myself more on that. First, give everyone that listens to Recycled Idaho a quick intro or long intro. It's up to you on yourself.
All right. Well, I appreciate the intro there, and I think just being aware of recycling in the first place and all the mechanisms behind it. Tires are just another piece of that, and I'm glad to have you excited to learn more about it. But so my name's Craig Hunter, president. I think I still consider Brett the CEO, but I'll take it.
I'll backtrack. President.
We'll say president.
CEO.
Yeah, and then I got some VPs coming up under me that are, a shout out to Aaron Young and David Taves or Toves or however you pronounce his last name.
I just call him DT.
He's working the Treasure Valley. He's doing a great job. So appreciate these guys that are working with us. But, I'll start with me, I guess, and then kind of go into Tire Reclaim. But so first of all, my wife, she deals with a lot, Amanda, and we've been together for a long, long time, and there's a lot of work that goes into this, and I think I should give her a little acknowledgement for that because there's a lot of deals with me when I get home, we have a little baby, Tyson, he's 2 years old, and a daughter, Chloe, she's 12, and then I still have my two older boys around. My oldest boy's in college, so he's 20, and my youngest boy's 19, or I guess he's not my youngest boy anymore. My middle boy's 19 now, Peyton and Parker. And basically, that's my why, right? So that's why I get up every day and, choose to do right and choose to do honorable things.
Good for you. And, so you got 20 to a baby.
20 to almost 2, yeah.
Wow.
So we started over with him and, still in diapers at this point. But, at 45 years old, I feel like, 45 is the new 35 or what, how it's a mindset type thing.
I like that.
We've got the energy and, we know folks that have the empty nest thing going on that are in my sage age group. They have grandkids. I have a lot of friends that are grandpas now and, uncles that are great grandpas, which is mind blowing to me. But, just really loving the lifestyle of being a youngster's dad as well as these older boys and then a middle daughter. I don't even know. You have a daughter, right, in that age
11.
Group? Yeah, so...
I have I have two daughters, 16 and 11.
So mine's 12 going on 24, I'd say, maybe. And I used to say things like she's, 10 going on 16, but now it's like they're young adults just moving around.
It's fun, man. Like, I love all the steps. I've said this a lot of times, but I love all the stages. I love the baby stage. I love the 3-year-old when they start to get a real personality to communicate with you.
That's I'm excited
just fun.
To see it all again.
But I'd love having I don't have a 20-year-old yet, but before I know it, I will.
Right.
I take it back. I have a 17-year-old. She just had a birthday.
Oh, okay.
So I just can't even keep up. Like, and it's,
right. That's how it is, right?
And it's wild, but it's fun. Like, it's cool to see her becoming an adult.
Yeah.
I'm blessed. Currently, they're making good decisions. But even when they make bad decisions, because I know, I made a million bad decisions, and I still will. So it's just really fun, and it's good to know, like, why and support system, because I wouldn't be able to do what I do by, like, traveling for work.
That's why I led with that.
It's like, so 100%, that's important.
It's a big deal. It is.
You got to have a good team, and not just a work team. You got to have a good family team.
Right.
Behind you to be able to grind and
a lot of moms, I don't know about your wife, but a lot of moms are doing, jobs. My wife has a full small business. It's blossomed into this thing, and now she's got a little baby with her all the time, but she still pulls through it. And laundry done and kids, medicated and going to the doctor and meals cooked. It's like
she's got 3 full-time jobs.
Yes. So anyway, that's why I started with that. But leading, coming out of that is I made a lot of promises to her over the years, and one of them was to be successful in everything that I do, when I wake up in the morning. That, and swinging those legs out at 5:36, 6:37, whatever your time frame is, it's not for every man. I mean, it's not easy. You know, there's a reason that people pay you to do that.
It takes discipline.
It does.
And it's like, you know, not every day when that alarm clock goes off at, like you said, 5:30 or 6:30, whatever time that is. There's a lot of times where I would love to just sleep longer.
Yeah, and so when I do that, it's almost like a kaleidoscope. I see my kids' faces and my wife, and just like, you know, cheering me on as I go, save the world, one tire at a time, you know. So, so that leads great into tire reclaim. So so my background is in compost. So
that's why I wanted to get
you wanted to talk about that a little bit,
because that's recycling too.
Yeah, so you go way back, you know, probably 2 lifetimes ago. It was food sales into the backs of restaurants through Cisco Foods. Long career with them.
Which that's one of our United Metals is customers.
Oh,
so
fantastic!
It's all kind of
connected.
No
idea. Yeah. I probably have brushed elbows with the gentleman who orders the box to be exchanged at some point through our careers, because they have long careers over there too, and I love that. You know, I spent a lot of time.
Yeah, I've been dealing
Cisco
with the same guy at Cisco for 10 years.
Yeah.
And it's so not a lot,
you know, which is always a good sign.
Like old forklifts, they cycle out and stuff.
Oh, makes sense.
We do all that, and that's what's like just so cool about the recycling world. Like, it's so connected that they do all this different types of recycling. And like I said earlier, I know about the metal side, but I don't know about the compost side. I don't know that much about the rubber side. I want to learn more, and I'm trying.
Yeah. Well, you could go on and on and on, you know, like the plastic side, the MRF side, you know, just general trash.
There's fibers. That's what they call paper, right?
Oh, yeah.
Fibers.
Fibers. Yeah. So is it Sacco? John out of Bakersfield?
John Sacco.
Yeah. I mean, they do a lot with paper, right? I see, you know, following
a lot of their customers.
Right. That's what I mean.
Yeah. A lot of their customers a lot of those balers they make
are
for
cardboard. Right.
Yep.
So
because that's a big thing. Like, think about how much cardboard, like how many boxes of cardboard are in my garage that I have to break down.
Right,
you know?
and we go to these the dealerships and different places when they buy wheels. Every wheel has a cardboard box. So I'm finding these tire stores are overwhelmed with cardboard, and their cardboard recycler. Go ahead.
You see, like Costco, like any big grocery store, they all have their own balers, all on-site balers. They're making loads.
Yep.
Because it makes sense to recycle it. I mean, it's the right thing to do, and it makes business sense. So it's a nice.
That's the connection, right?
That's nice when they both. And that's what has to happen. You have to have it make sense
for any longevity. That's what has to happen.
And that's where some people, consumers, aren't willing to accept that it might cost a little bit of money to recycle certain products. We can get into that.
Well, no, and I think people I've seen that people, especially with tires, have been very receptive, but that's probably has a lot to do with, you know, we're the second or third call down the line of people saying, no, we don't take tires. So, you know, there's a play into everything, right? But I won't go into that too much just yet. So Cisco was a lot of sales experience and learning, you know, middle, you know, management and upper management and what, you know, chain of command
and all that.
Yeah, and spreadsheets and, you know, documentation of, you know, inventory.
Basically, you consider that a corporate job, though?
That was very corporate, and it's where I got my, you know, degree, right? Because I went to college, but I didn't leave with any kind of master's degree or anything.
I left with a big fat bill. That's what I left with.
Yeah, same here. Yeah. So I don't know, but that's kind of where I went to school, right? And but I gave them a lot of years and got to my 10 year and left with the pension. So, you know, I did my part, they did their part, shook hands, parted. Still have a lot of friends out there at Cisco. But anyway, so then went into business with my dad in compost and composting. And that's basically taking dairy waste manure. And I bring that up for a reason, because there's a lot of similarities with what I'm doing now. And connecting the dairymen and the farmers. And basically, you know, showing them that, hey, you can take the waste from the cattle that are eating this product and make it fertilizer for the very product they're eating. So then you create a closed loop.
That's true recycling right there.
Exactly. So, and that's something that we had to implement over, you know, well, for my dad, he spent decades. And I watched him, you know, bang his head against the wall. So when I said I was going to do it, I did it contractually. A lot of things that happen are guys, when you teach them how easy it is to make compost out of dairy manure.
How did your dad get in that world? Like
Commercial fertilizer application company out of Southern California. That's how I got to Idaho, because he would come here, and it was a different fertilizer application season in Bakersfield, California, versus it was American Falls, Idaho, is where he did most of his, in Aberdeen, where he did most of his commercial fertilizer application. The little white pellets that you see.
Yeah.
Yeah, so he would spray that with a big boom truck, and he would bring that equipment from Southern California up here. And he always told us when we were kids, hey, as soon as you're old enough, we're going to Idaho. It's beautiful there. It's God's country, as you would say. So, flash forward, and I'm basically picking where I want to go to school. And Idaho State University's in Pocatello, Idaho. He's already moved to American Falls. So as soon as I graduated high school, I was the youngest of two boys. I think I graduated on June 9th or 10th, and they were celebrating 4th of July in Idaho.
You graduated down in Cali?
In Bakersfield, California. And then they moved to Idaho by 4th of July. I mean, it was like, we're gone.
Wow.
So there in Idaho, I came live with them and went to Pocatello for Idaho State University. That's where I did my little Stanford, an associate's degree, but never went full bachelor's degree and all that. But that Idaho State University.
Why did you go to college? Did you think that's just what you should do?
It's interesting you said that, because I was framing houses at the time, and guys were trying to compete on how many 2x4s they could carry on their shoulder up to the top, floor. And I'd watch them, and there's some strong dudes there, and I was strong, and I could do quite a few, and I won't say the number, but guys know who know it's a lot, and I'd carry them to the top floor. But then I looked at the old guys laughing at us.
I want a number.
Well, it was 8 2x6x8.
That seems like a lot to me.
I don't know. It was pretty good.
Yeah.
I got it up there. But anyway, this guy, or I'm looking at the older guys watching us younger guys do that, and they looked broke down. And they were like 45, 50, and they looked like they'd been doing this a long time and been in a lot of bar brawls. And I just thought, if I'm going to be the foreman, I'm going to have to get some kind of education, or I'm going to have to spend a lot of years doing this, learning how to do it. So,
well, that's good that you had a plan why you went to college.
Right.
I went to college because I thought that's just what you did. And I hope my girls don't do the same mistakes I made by going to make me happy. I want them to go because they have a plan. Now, if you have a plan, I want to get this degree, or you say, I just want to try it out because that's what I want.
Right.
There's nothing wrong with that either.
Right.
Because I'm going to support either way.
We got that exact split in our oldest boys, Peyton and Parker. So Peyton went straight to College of Idaho to play defensive end for the football team. But honestly, I think he was even talking coaching or high school coaching prior to being picked up. But he has a plan of, I'm going to C of I, I'm going to get my degree, I'm going to be a high school football coach.
Okay.
And, I'm starting to see this with this
resume
building.
So he has to get a teaching degree then.
Yes,
right?
Exactly.
Okay.
So, he had a full plan, and we talked about it, and he lives with us, and I think it probably sucks for him, but he realizes the cost saving, having a baby and it coming and going.
It's expensive.
But so he probably realizes he's doing, better by staying with us, but still it probably sucks for him. But still, I digress. Then my son Parker, he's more like I was, like more physically. I want to go touch the world and see what it's got for me type thing. He plays the drums in a band, and he works with his hands in woodworking, doing doors. And I'm really, really proud of what he's doing, too, because he's taking the world by the horns as like, I'm going to ride this bitch out and see what comes at the end. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I love that attitude, too, because that was the attitude I have. And here I am president of this, great company. So I think that it's definitely... I want them to do what they want, and I'm so excited for that. And I don't want them to be afraid to come to me and tell me, this is my plan, this is my dream, or I don't even have a plan. Okay, let's talk about that. What is your plan? That type of conversation. So, we got a taste of it. So, again, back to that, seeing those guys broke down, I knew that I had to have a next step up. So, I'm hoping that my youngest boy, Parker, will kind of maybe see that too. Like, he'll get out there and go, okay, if I go get this degree, it will get me this specific job that makes me happy. Like, maybe it's playing drums.
That's the word.
That's a hard
happy.
one. But Yes.
That, I think every parent wants their kid to be successful. But what is successful? I just think of them being happy.
Right, absolutely.
And sustaining for themselves. But
and
being
happiness
happy.
could be a few grand a month in expenses, or it
Yep.
could be a 30 grand
Everybody's
a month in
happy
expenses.
is different.
Everybody's different, right?
Yep.
And kind of how you set up your lifestyle. So I know some very happy people that they don't make a whole lot of money, but they also, do a lot for the community.
They're probably a lot happier than people that make millions,
It could be. In a lot of scenarios, I think, absolutely. I mean, I say this a lot, but on a wide enough spectrum, you have everything in between.
Oh, yeah.
Right? So I always think of that because we're a big country, even at 300 million. But you go worldwide, there's billions. So you can find a scenario, equates to just about anything. And I would say that that's probably pretty common. The unhappy millionaires, I guess, is what I'm getting at.
So now you're in Idaho.
Yeah.
We already went over Cisco.
Yeah.
Then you
we did a flashback and then forward.
That's fine. It's like a
so
Quentin
composting
Tarantino
though,
movie.
and so when I decided to get with my father's, I wanted to bring that spreadsheet mentality and contracts, and not full contracts, but like single
some of the
page
skills
stuff.
you learned at Cisco, some of the corporate skills could probably benefit a business like
absolutely
like that.
And it was still up and coming, technology wise, industry wide. So we ended up partnering with a fairly large compost company in central Idaho or south central Idaho, southern Idaho, and they were seeing the idea of compost taking on, but they worked for a couple very large dairies and really, put a lot of focus on those. So I helped them expand into smaller farms, mom and pops, things like that, of getting compost name on the street where when you thought of fertilizing your field, you didn't think of just a guy down the road that made dairy compost. It was like a company came, I like to use the term a lot now as the FedEx of compost, delivery and application. So a guy shows up, logoed truck, collared shirt, spreads your fertilizer. We call it fertilizer. We don't call it compost or manure because people, you try to change that mentality. So little things like that. And now you can't drive through the state without seeing a pile of compost, and that's just from the freeway.
I went on a drive with you, and you showed me a few.
Yeah, you can spot them, and they're just little brown piles. And
looked for them.
Yeah, they didn't exist before. Well, and they didn't exist before, So, and I give a lot of that to my father. Bill Hunter in American Falls, Pocatello, Blackfoot, Idaho Falls, Twin Falls. If you were a farmer and you knew Bill Hunter, you have talked about compost, I guarantee it. And that's what an industry needs, right? So having said all that, things I learned from my dad was get contracts. I had a contract on the last company I built, which was we left that other larger company to start my own company with my father, and that's when COVID hit.
Oh.
Dad's elderly.
Yeah.
He used to be a smoker. He quit smoking. Right on, Dad. But he's diabetic and a lot of, so he basically just stayed home. And I went out and still knocked on a lot of doors.
You went out there. You were trying to keep him safe. Mm-hmm. It's like he would tell my dad when they'd run those commercials, like on what conditions could make you more susceptible to getting COVID or dying from COVID.
Right.
My dad came over. I was like, Dad, like they're describing you on TV right now.
No, it was exactly.
And I would say it jokingly, but I would be serious. Like they're like literally describing you.
A lot of jokes are just saying the real thing out loud, just with a little, softness.
Yeah.
So, no, I think we had some of the same jokes flying around. With my dad's like, Dad, they just basically, other than the obese, he was skinny from the diabetes, but now he's got that balanced out. And, But anyway, so I went and took on Legacy Compost, which was the compost company I started and still operating right now, with some partners over there. But I want to touch on this because I think it's important. Is contracts? They're not. In a scenario where you're going into business, I think it's a really good idea. But I'm not a big fan of them between me and the customer because that's basically our contract is the fact that I'm there. And when I say I'm going to be there and I'm doing what I'm saying I'm going to do, and your contract to me is paying your bill. So that's
some of our competitors in the metal recycling world, they are big on contracts.
Yeah.
And we always say let our service be our contract. You know,
Right,
as soon as you don't like it, you can terminate our contract.
Right. And I could see, where implementation of contracts in certain scenarios when you're forecasting, they're asking you to buy a big piece of equipment or something.
If you're making a
if you're getting into
investment,
a specific design of your business model to fit their needs, you're going to want to know that they're not going to, bail out in 3 months. So, but that might even be really restrictive. And I mentioned it briefly a second ago, but 1 page. I'm all about the 1 page. Judge Judy, she'd hold up a document. I love watching Judge. And that's shout out to my mom, Debbie. She watches all those judge shows. But you catch a lot from Judge Judy. If you don't watch it, you should. But she'll hold up a document and go, the edge of this paper, that is what this document, everything that this document entails is right here. So you guys can say whatever you want to say, but it's all right here.
1 pager.
1 pager. So I love that. But being able to sell legacy comfortably and understand who was buying it and all that was laid out, in the document ahead of time. So, I won't get into a lot of details of selling and why I decided to get out of compost and out of that business. But what I will say is that I started following this guy on LinkedIn named Brett Eckhart.
Oh, I've heard of him.
Yeah. And he had all these inspirational posts and quotes and I reached out to him, to be perfectly honest, and said, hey, I live in your area. I built this business in southern Idaho. But I need to talk to you about trucking of all things. And honest to God, I really was trying to figure out getting some trucks from that central area, Hayburn, Burley, and I saw your trucks a lot, which is what made me go, okay, I need to go in there and ask him about getting, because I was trying to get loads to Boise, Caldwell area. But anyway.
Loads of compost?
Yes. Okay. So I was still working at that time. So, and talked to him about it. And then we had that meeting, and this is a great line because he says, well, I'll always take a meeting, and that's kind of, I've shifted that into a motto, really. So I don't care if it's a phone, quick. Sometimes it might be a few exchanges on LinkedIn, right? It takes time. So that's a meeting, right? So even if someone's reaching out and saying, hey, we're starting, or we have this metal business and we really want to do some tires, can you go into it? I'm like, call me, absolutely. And, giving them that time. So always take the meeting. And it really, that motto kind of spurred because Brett took my meeting, right? So I came in and asked him about trucking. He introduced me to Jim Coons, which, again, another shout out. Jim Coons is a master dispatcher, right?
He
and he's like, this is it. There's the brain right there. And he's got all this color coding and stuff. And I'm like, oh, I would love to tap into, that.
And that side of it.
And flash forward, his desk's across from mine now. But back then, I didn't know that. So
you didn't know that was going to happen.
No, I had no idea. I was there asking about trucks.
That wasn't your intention either.
No. I was asking about trucks. And if I had probably tote sacks of compost that was a direct shipment, Jim probably would have figured out a way to get them from Hayburn. Yeah. You know what I mean? We probably would have made it happen. But that's not the way that went.
I have a customer that makes data mines for crypto. Okay. He makes them. Jim helped that customer transport those in Florida. That's how good Jim is. Right. And he just connected him.
Even more than that is he probably told him what interstate highway to use.
He connected
which exit to get off of, go past where the old school used to be, and then, right at that big flying J or pilot right there. You know what I mean? Like,
so bing, shout out to Jim because he helped a local customer of mine that had a big national company. He ran into an issue, and that's just how good Jim is.
Right.
And Jim was willing, like you said, to take the meeting.
Absolutely.
Because you just never know, those little meetings, and I've said this for a lot of years, those little tiny meetings that might seem like bullshit, and we're all busy, and it might seem like a time waste.
Yeah.
Just building those connections with those people, and even if you're like, man, this just doesn't fit for us, but I know this company that could help you. Well, and then they might do they might find a big this that connect it here. But anyway, sorry, you keep going.
No, I'm giving you a hard time because you're reading ahead because that's what this story is, right? So I walk through, I meet Jim, I pan around, I look in the room, and there's a Peterbilt on the wall, right? I don't know if anybody's been out there. It's there, really.
We'll put it in the video so people can see it.
Yeah, there you go. So then... which, again, my desk ended up being right in the grill of that Peterbilt. But I didn't know that then. And it was a tiny little meeting, and it was like, hey, nice to meet you. Super cool guy. Love following you on LinkedIn. Bye. Right? And I head out of there, and I go start my world. Well, I don't know, few weeks, almost a month and a half later, I start a buyout. You know, my partner.
What year is this? What year are we talking?
2021.
21? Okay.
Is that right? Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. So
So 21, so a couple of years ago.
Yep. So COVID had ended. Contracts for compost were coming hot and heavy. So it was time to sell. So I'm selling, and I wanted Brett and Brian Ferguson's advice because I just witnessed what I'd witnessed. I just talked to him. I knew how he, conducted his business. So I wanted to get to know that a little bit better. So I called him and just laid it out, man. Here's my contract. Here's what I would like to sell for. Here's what they want to, pay me for it, blah, blah, blah. And they, again, donated their time, right? Send it over, we'll read it, and then call them, little conference call. I think I even went out there one more time, if I'm not mistaken. Kind of redlined through some of the contract stuff, and then sent back the offer and closed the deal. So
Nice.
now that compost company is going, and all of that ended up finalizing because in the conversations about this contract, Brett and not Brian so much, but obviously he's behind all the decisions, right? But Brett told me, he's like, I've got a gig for you. I got something that, I think will fit right in your wheelhouse, which that leads right into tire reclaim. And I think he even called it tire reclaim, or maybe I might have said, well, what's the name? And he's like, well, I have these other reclaim brands.
This is the third reclaim division under United Metals.
So you can probably speak on that because he probably had asked you about that for years, right?
We started Converter Reclaim, was really the first one. We started Converter Reclaim in 2014 officially. And what it was is, buying catalytic converters from our shops, our current customers that we weren't able to really buy them from because we didn't know how. So Jay Milligan is in charge of that division, and me and him went on a journey by traveling, by learning, by making mistakes, because we made a lot of them in that process.
Right.
And we had a box truck, and that company's really evolved into a national brand where we buy them from shops.
Yeah.
And with proper
I think that's a good shout-out opportunity, too, though, for Jay. I mean, because in most of those scenarios, there was probably Band-Aids, blood, ordering products that you don't even know whether they're going to snap together, right?
Jay's huge.
Just doing that shit and putting it together is commonly overlooked. And I know you guys don't overlook it because you praise him all the time, but I'm going to praise that right now is those kind of guys that go and do that really make or break an organization. And I brought one to the team too, which I can talk about TJ later, but and Harlan, his right hand man, they came from Legacy. They said, no, if you're selling the company, we're coming with you. Where are we going, boss? And actually you guys hired TJ and Harlan before you hired me, which was because we were still working.
I didn't realize that. Okay.
Yeah. I called Brett and said, hey, you guys put these guys on the payroll. I'm okay for now, but can you get these guys going right away? And not even a question, because they're good men, and I knew that, so it was like kind of just like, let's do this, all right, and they've hit the ground running. But anyway,
so the same time, 2014, probably 2015, 2016. We're just really building out the converter process, how to decant them. We were tinkering with different ways to decant them, different types of converters to put together, and we really dialed that in, and that's a testament to Jay.
There's a lot to that, because I see it. You watch the videos, you can tell there's a lot to it.
And then during this process, though, I did have a company reach out to United Metals, and I took the call. I took the meeting.
Yeah.
We'll get into this later. It was 2X Recycling. So that was my first experience with tires reclaim, and we tried to help them with recycling their tire wire. We did a few test loads of rail cars. We did 2 rail car test loads, and it was just too dirty. But we did we dedicated our trucks and trailers in the process to try to learn more, because it's just a whole different world. And then we do.
What year was that?
I'd say probably 2015, 2016, somewhere in there. And then and then during this process, we also had a copper chopper. We buy a lot of copper wire. And then we saw a need to have a specific copper truck, a copper division. So that's where Copper Reclaim came in. We have 2 copper trucks out there buying from electricians. They buy it from you on the spot. So if you own an electrical company, you don't have to worry about paying a guy to haul it in. You don't have to worry about someone stealing it. You can really control it a lot better that way, and then you can stay working. Let us handle the headaches of the recycling.
Right.
And this all kind of segues into, tire reclaim coming into, no one ever quite did it right in our area on tire recycling.
Right.
And we knew that because we generate a lot of tires from owning 7 scrapyards,
Yes.
So you could get into more of that. Like, how did tire reclaim? They found the people.
Right.
But you can't just have people. People is the most important part.
No, there's got to be a plan. There's got to be an idea.
So what did Tire Reclaim acquire first, equipment wise?
Yeah. So right off the bat, I learned that we had to take whole tires down to a smaller size in volume. So tires hold air. There's a ton of airspace, right? So you put that in the ground. For one, landfills hate losing airspace. That's one of their number one things. They live off of airspace what they literally sell is airspace. So if you're burying whole tires, there's a lot of air in there, but it also traps gases, which allows the tires to walk out of the dirt, basically. So it's like
that's how they creep out of there.
Yeah, so you'll see them. I thought I buried that, and and I've heard. I've never Googled it or YouTube or anything, but I've heard they'll shoot out of the ground. I mean, if anybody's, share a video if you've got one. I would love to see that. Yeah, they say that because I guess it makes sense if it ignited in any way, it would maybe propel it out of there or enough pressure. Maybe enough pressure. Yeah, and you get close enough to the surface. Yeah, I don't know. But anyway, so reducing the size, and what was nice, so I got to give a few hat tips. First of all, Brett Eckhart and his team thinking about tires, right? Because that came from having a gigantic pile, which is what I walked into, of tires. And prior to that was what I heard, a big haul-off bill. He took tires to maybe 2X or one of these other guys that went down for management. They had a good business idea and business model, but I think what I've learned over the last 12 months is that it's like a lot of management, maybe trying to lower tip fees to gain business, and that's not always best because then how do you pay the bills and those types of things. So how that's managed but I guess somebody took a load out there and there's a lot of money to get rid of tires. So that might have been the first little spark in the back of Brett's mind. But he could probably go into that further. But that big check, having to write that to dispose of tires makes
we had a few outfits we could get rid of them at. Yeah.
I know the cement plant was a big one because they take the whole tires. Yep. Yeah, and but then they have flow, right? They turn it off and on and only receive a certain
because they're using it as a fuel source.
Correct. Right? And they're using a whole tire. It's a chain system and hook system. Chain and hook system.
They hook each one.
Yeah, each tire goes right into the kiln. And I don't know, it's pretty old technology. We've actually spoke to their executive level, and they're really looking at doing a TDF model. They would love that if we can promise them a source. What does TDF stand for? So TDF is tire-derived fuel. Okay. But it's a smaller piece, and the wire's taken out of it, and and I can talk about that in a moment. But that's some of the machinery that we are capable of doing that. They wanted to know if we had the flow to do that. Yes, we do, and we've told them that. And we're spending the money to make that happen. So if they want to, they can. I think it's $4 million or whatnot. They can outfit or retrofit what they have and get away from that hook and chain system. So if anybody, again, I know this is going out World Wide Web, right? World. If anybody has any success stories of those conversion projects, going from whole tires to TDF. Because see, what people don't understand is
or
TDF. Or
non-success stories.
Yeah, or maybe. Yeah, anything. Bring it on.
Help us out.
Exactly. Yeah. So but back to that is, I think Brett's definitely saw something's here. And then a couple more guys to mention are Josh Bartolome. He's
Yes.
no longer with Southern Idaho Solid Waste, but him and Nate Francisco.
Yep.
Which Nate's now moved into Josh's spot. Josh is in Florida and enjoying the sun.
Josh has still been in touch a little bit.
Yeah, we've seen him at a couple conferences.
Yeah.
And yeah, if Josh is listening, he's like a bag penny. He just keeps turning up, so.
He might show back up around here someday.
Yeah, it was nice to meet him. I met him in Las Vegas. We had dinner, and it's a wonderful time. And his wife, her name is, I'm drawing a blank, but great people. And anyway, so Nate, same thing, great people right down the line, right there in Southern Idaho Solid Waste. So it's a unique situation because they have 7 counties, transfer stations all over the state. They're doing a really great job over there and capturing gas and making energy for 2,500 homes.
They're really innovative. They have really good minds over there. And I think
they're our largest aggregate customer.
Yes, so, landfills in general get a bad rap, but they're a necessity. And I'd say all the people I've ever talked to, they're all doing it right, and they're doing it right. They're recycling, first of all.
Right.
And they're also taking care of everybody's bullshit.
Right, absolutely. It's the end. It's the backstop.
And they're creating, with those gases that go to those engines,
I'm telling you,
they produce a lot of energy.
Right, going to that Idaho Solid Waste Association conference and attending the training and becoming certified, as a landfill operator, I learned a lot about landfills. And one thing coming from, my recycling background is I feel like, and a lot of people might hear this first here, is that I think the term landfill will be gone eventually. So you won't actually, fill land, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
There's going to be, it'll be more of a disbursement, of
and a lot of them are doing that.
Yeah,
or working. It's not perfect yet, but it never will be.
Right.
But it's getting better and better and better.
The things you bury will be very, very minuscule. Like medical waste and nuclear waste and other things that can, be, turned into something more usable. And I see it. Like, I'm meeting the gentlemen and shaking their hands with the letters behind their name that are making these technologies come about. It's just so slow to market. It's unbelievable. And then there's all these environmental
a lot of
roadblocks and what states can you even go into to do some of these projects, because there's so much regulation. It's like the whole West Coast is out. And which is a lot of people and a lot of resources, and a lot of money, but you're not doing anything over there, or not anything of any real size, So, but anyway, the term landfill is, I think it's going to be more of, MRFs and dirty MRFs and Smurfs and, different things.
I feel like the word landfill and the word scrapyard are going to not exist here in 10, 20 years.
Yeah.
Because they're already, the narrative is kind of changing it, because they both get kind of a negative view. Recycled is kind of the word that
and you guys are a big part of that. What you do, with your companies, exactly.
We're trying to educate, to give people someone that doesn't want to go to college. Hey, there's a good career you can make in the recycling community.
Yeah,
and that's not just metals; it's tires and all of them.
Just Google success stories in scrap metal.
Yeah,
there's some big ones. I've done it, and there's some monsters out there.
So you talked about sizing it down. Mm-hmm. Are we there? Are you guys sizing them down? What are you doing now?
Yeah. So what I recognized right away is we had to have a piece of equipment to do that. That shout out to Nate and Josh is that they went and visited the because they knew they had a tire problem too. They visited a plant that was processing tires, got the name of the machine, the company that sells them.
Yep.
So I had a springboard to launch from. So when I got here, there was already a couple emails in my lap of this equipment. They had visited other equipment. They sent me those, said these are not the ones, this is the one. So we made that move, and we haven't looked back. And that was these are the things that play into tire reclaim. That was $1 million purchase, right? So now we've got our own tire situation getting handled, but now we need to get that thing busy, right? It's got to start
because it costs $1 million.
Because it cost $1 million just to buy it, and then 10 to 14 gallons of diesel an hour, and all the maintenance and the.
So you got to feed it.
Yeah,
you
absolutely.
You got to figure out how to feed it,
and
what the costs are.
Parts, the
that's really
part
what you
facing, and
you dove into all that.
Yeah,
head first.
TJ, who I mentioned earlier, TJ Taylor, and I, basically I told him, dude, this is your machine. I need you to know it. I need and I was talking to myself as much as him.
Yeah.
We need to know it. We need to understand it. We need to understand our parts, because downtime is opportunity time. So, being down is not okay. And he knows that, and I know that. So it's like, there's a fire, not
and you
literally
two
a
knew
fire,
how to work together already because you all those other years together.
And he married my cousin, so he kind of
okay.
knows. So it's he's from Bakersfield
so
too.
He's your cousin.
Yeah, well, technically I'd say he's my cousin. Yeah, and
cool.
Like I tell my son all the time, I was like, I got to spot my heart for TJ because he's raising, my kin, which is his daughter Haley, Haley Ray, and his wife Amber. Amber is one of my favorite late cousins. I hate to say it, but Stephen Glenn Hunter out of Bakersfield was my cousin and passed away, which was her dad.
Okay.
And right after that, his dream was always to move to Idaho and have all of them move to Idaho. Well, they moved to Idaho and worked with me, which, I mean, that's big. I'm going to get emotional talking about that. But I digress. Their family's here now, that little baby, but TJ took that machine as his own, which is now...
And that's his baby, too.
Right, and that's his other baby, right? So, and the communication level between him and I is pretty good, and it's all... In business, I think your communication is really what makes you, because and being able to talk, and call out people without...
being candid.
Making an enemy, it's like,
being
I don't think we should do it that way,
Yeah.
boss. If we do that, then this is going to happen.
Well, if you ever go to a meeting where everybody always agrees, you got the wrong people in the meeting. But you shouldn't all agree. Why the fuck are we meeting if we're all agreeing every time? We need to have some different points of views. Or you might see something that, I might see something you don't, and vice versa.
Right.
And if we can't be, grown-ups about it and take it and be like, okay, no, that's a good idea. Or be willing to change our minds and be like, oh, yeah, that was dumb. Like, that just didn't work. Let's pivot, And we say that word a lot because we do a lot of pivoting. And any, I think, successful business, you have to pivot.
Right.
And, and learning the machine, is important. But how soon after the first machine was bought and up and running and you guys knew it and it was going, did you have to get another machine?
Very quick. So just
months?
A few months, yeah. But the reason why, so there's a lot in between those two moments. For one, I took everything that I've known in sales. I created a CRM myself, customer relation management, which is basically just a spreadsheet of everybody that does tires and just did the legwork that it took, right? So in that time frame, but I was able to utilize the resources, and that's where I was headed next is, yes, TJ and I brought a lot, but what we're getting and gaining from United Metals and the umbrella is by far more than we'd ever learned prior to that. So they watched me chase equipment payments and go collect money from a farmer who's past due, and they watched me do all that to build, because we were there 2 years for Legacy Compost to build that through COVID and make it what it is to be sellable as a business, and then for us to move on. So they watched me do that, and now we came in and we're learning how to communicate as a team. And look, you have a mechanic on staff. Hey, if you need a welder, let's make sure, if it's not this type of welding, we have this welder available. Or in TJ's situation, he'll just grab things and start welding and fix it. Yeah. I have to slow him down sometimes. Like, hey, let's make sure we communicate. But that's just part of us coming into an organization. Now we've got a year of that behind us. Oh, we're streamlined. I think we're really ready to rock and roll, which is good because there's a tidal wave of tires coming our way, and so now that machine came. But the big key was having your United Metals situation of, the roll-offs. So we introduced a new technology, which is
we already had hundreds of roll-offs available.
Right.
Out working. But we try to always keep enough in rotation. And
exactly.
Then we also have the trucks.
So now we've added a few dozen more. But but the communication of, the dispatcher to the driver, Buxton emailing me the weights, and, me invoicing, like, none of that could have happened if it didn't, like, I was doing all that myself. Before.
Which is a lot for one person, man.
Right.
That's so much.
It is a lot. But but I was doing it, and I was doing it from Boise to Paul, Idaho. If anybody knows, that's like a 2-hour, 40-minute drive. But I made that work, and, we just made part of my miles in some hotels as part of the cost of starting that business was. But anyway, that in that time frame, I learned how to do those types of things. But I came to United Metals, and it's all being done. Like those are, trucks are being dispatched and picked up. So, I can't take credit for a couple $1 million of revenue when I'm just using the tools that are put in front of me, right? So it's a team. When people say it's like team. A cliche, like, it's a team effort, what?
It's true.
Straight up team effort.
It has to be.
Because you and Jay walk up to me and go, no, we're going to help you get the route driver, right? We got a guy we're already thinking about. I'm going to go shopping for trucks. Craig, let me help you. I'm going to go buy a route truck.
We'll talk to the guy that wraps it.
Like what logo and phone number and cliche like or statement do you want it to say? Like asking. And then we start a group text, right? Which is going to be a world famous group text eventually.
It's a fun group text.
Half a dozen of us on there, and it's just it's fantastic. But I mean, you think about that, even just that little nugget of that collaboration of minds in that group text is pretty phenomenal. It makes a very powerful force. So take that into tire reclaim. Yeah, we needed a second machine like in a hurry.
You needed that quick.
Yeah, because we were getting more tires coming in.
But it makes me think how you said you had to chase down checks so you could pay like a equipment payment.
Right.
I always think of this story. So Rod, Brett's dad, Rod used to, he's a truck driver too, but he's running the business. He would drive the loads to get paid and then collect the check. Just so we could have the money in our account.
Cover payroll.
And this is before my time.
Yeah.
But so I came into even just an amazing situation where it was already built, and kudos to our team and the guys out there grinding and driving and weighing the bins. It's quite like a great process of how we're able to weigh a container and get the weights to the right person so we could on the metal side, we pay them.
Right.
On your world, we bill them.
Yeah, we're collecting.
Like the blue can at your house.
Yeah.
You pay for that.
Right.
So people are getting more and more used to it.
Oh, okay, yeah.
It goes way back to where I say people hate the word landfill, but are they willing to pay to keep stuff out of the landfill?
Right.
And I think more people are getting used to that.
Right.
Which is good, and that follows. We won't go too deep into the costs in tire recycling.
Right.
But the tire recycling done right makes some of the really cool products you would never think of. I don't know them all. What kind of products are they making out of some tires?
Right. So that's kind of research and development. That's the stage that we're at right now. Is what can we do with these tires? Well, we've gotten to the point where now we have the equipment, we have the wherewithal, and the idea of where different markets lie. So there's different products that come out of the machines that we're launching. So we're bringing on a full-on crumb rubber facility in Caldwell, Idaho. So in doing that, we're going to have the tire volume that now we're reducing the tire size even further. And the next level of that is products like crumb rubber for the...
When that next process... Does that get all the tire wire? And when I say tire wire, for everyone, there's still wire in a tire.
Right.
Like how much percentage-wise of a tire, how much iron's in it?
15% on your passengers and up to 25%.
15 to 25, and 25 on your
semis and things like that.
And a lot of people don't realize there's any steel in them unless you let it wear down enough. You start seeing them poke
right,
out.
Exactly. Yeah. No, certain people know exactly that they're steel in it. Other people have no idea that they're steel in it. Yeah.
So that process will get all the steel out.
Absolutely. So if you figure if it's in fragmented sizing, which is for AstroTurf, and when you see a guy. And they do the close-up on Monday Night Football, and the guy's dragging his foot to stay in bounds, and you see that little trail of black coming up, that little rooster tail.
That way the replay officials can...
Yeah, that's old tires. So that's been, processed down to be just a
crumb
rubber.
All the AstroTurfs or all the...
They all have to apply a certain amount of that because, as my son could attribute to, it comes home in your ears and...
Because they have AstroTurf at College of Idaho.
Yep. And that black stuff, it's everywhere. So it's just, it's part of that, crowd, which... But there's so many others, horse trailer mats and
Okay.
gym floor mats.
The
things
black
like that.
mats
Yeah,
that you slam your weights on.
Absolutely. I
Okay.
was researching. Obviously, I'm researching this a lot right now because we're have those machines coming online very soon. So
Are those machines getting made right now?
yeah, they're being built right now. And we've actually visited the plant, and we watched a good friend of ours have his built, and went and visited. And
cool.
Went to Indiana. It's Middlebury, Indiana, about an hour from Chicago, and it was just a really cool trip. But just seeing the machinery, and then they have 9 of them on facility, the largest chrome rubber facility in North America. Someone can correct me if that's not true, but as far as I've seen, it's a big one. It's a big one.
That's
so
awesome.
they make a lot of chrome. And who better to buy your machine from? They manufacture the equipment. They make chrome themselves. They actually make steel ingots out of that tire wire. So yes, it's clean. It's
So they're
super clean.
they're melting.
We can post pictures on that too. It's in the shared iPhone.
We'll share that with everybody.
Yeah. So that it does come out very clean. So you have chrome rubber, you have steel. These are things that we're hoping will be able to get rid of and move, because otherwise, and I've seen it, you go down the avenue of the tire recycling casualties, and they're out there, and you can drive out to Simcoe Road exit right now and find trailers staged with tires in them, bags of chrome rubber, tote bags just laying about because they closed the whole. So, and that's that management thing I was talking about. Like, obviously there's plenty of tires, right? But not being able to go and collect, to be able to service that customer, to be able to handle that crumb, and then go see what's out there on the other side. If you never get past that first gate, then you're those guys, right? And we don't want to be those guys. So right out the gate, yes, there's a charge to recycle your tires. Will there always be? I don't know. But for right now, there is. And the best thing that we can do is continue to pick them up. And the only way to do that is if you help us pay the truck and the driver and the shredder to shred it up. And that's where we're at. So we're making a TDA. You asked about TDF earlier. Yep. TDA is a tire-derived aggregate. So we are currently, with the machinery that we have, able to make a 4 to 6 inch hunk of rubber that we get about 85 to 90% of the wire out. And that they can use as a drain rock in Southern Idaho Solid Waste, which we mentioned. Uses that to cover those gas line extraction pipes that we talked about. So they're generating gas to power like full-on Detroit motors. I've seen them.
It's awesome.
It's running and making power for the city of Burley, and it's fantastic. But they're able to cover those gas lines with that and as a drain rock. So we've been able to utilize thousands and thousands of tons of that material. That's only going to be a project. Then I have other projects lined up. Because they normally would be using like
a rock, a
real
rock.
Big rocks. Yeah, we're replacing the big rocks. It's more porous. There's more edges for the bacterial growth, and that's where a lot of the compost background came in, because there's a lot of edges that water moving through there is not only just draining through, but it's also creating its own environment around the tires. There's a lot of edges, a lot of places where things, good algae can grow, things like that. So do
you want edges then?
Yeah. In that scenario, everything's cleaning itself if it's doing that. It's alive, right? Yeah. So those are just things, and that's going deeper in the microbiology of it. And that's just kind of, I'm a nerd in that area because of the compost background. But ultimately, it's a really lightweight rock replacement. So they use it if you've ever seen rooftop gardens or rooftop, that like the whole thing looks like a park on the top of a building in downtown New York City. They most likely use tire-derived aggregate because the weight displacement and the drain is so much less than rock.
So much lighter.
That
so
they can get it up there.
They don't need
They don't have to reinforce the walls. They can save money on building. So that type of mentality with backfill on walls, for Idaho Transportation Department, backfill on these freeway embankments, and anything railroad should use tire-derived aggregate because of the vibration. So, we have projects that I'm lining out for tire-derived aggregate, so that if we ever have a problem with chrome rubber, or having multiple channels to take this product is what I'm trying to build right now. So
you can have multiple products more than anything. It's like you're
multiple
manufacturing products.
And we can shut down a line here and pump out here and go out
depending
here.
Depending
and
what the market needs.
Again, here's another shout out to Casey and Braven, you know, and out there on the building, like, oh, if we move this and we flip this, and Brett, of course, and all of us in on it and giving, if we take the machine through the building this way, the wire will come out this conveyor right into a truck.
Yeah.
You know, or right into a trailer, and whatever it is, we and again, learning from another shout out, Tom Parker down at All American Tire Recycling in Fort Worth, Texas. We visit, and he's showing us these things, and he's like, "Oh, don't put a door there, or you'll end up making it bigger." You know, it's like
because he made those mistakes, and he's willing to share that.
Which is that take the meeting, right?
Yeah.
Always take the meeting, because that's him and Brett hooked up on LinkedIn. Then Brett's like, "Hey, we gotta go meet this guy." I'm like, "Let's jump on a plane." There we go to Fort Worth. Now we know everything there is to know about making chrome rubber. I mean, not really, but anything we want to ask him, he's been doing it for 14 years. We can ask him, you know, and we do.
So you met Brett on LinkedIn.
Yeah.
Brett met Tom on LinkedIn.
Tom LinkedIn, yep.
If you're not on LinkedIn or social media, just get on there.
I don't know what you're waiting for.
Like, just get on there. You can really use it. Just use it as a tool.
Right.
You don't have to, like, I get so many people that talk so negatively about some of this stuff. If you utilize it as a communication tool, it's a great thing. Yeah. Like, it's a great thing.
Well, and I'll give a little plug for LinkedIn that I never thought I would have gave in the past, but it's not real political. If you notice, like, guys speak their hearts about what it is they're behind, and you'll go, oh, that guy's X or that guy's Y. Yeah. But when you see someone post something like full on Orange Man bad, or, you know, don't vote this guy in, or don't do this, when you see that, you see other comments like, not here, man, or we don't really do that here.
That's why it's one of my favorite places to be.
Yeah, it's like, it's almost like, and I'm sure it's an older demographic, right? Which I'm getting more and more comfortable with labeling myself as the older demographic, because at 45, I mean, you're on the top side of that, what they're targeting stuff for, because you're over 60, you're like, you know, anyway.
You're in that sweet spot.
Yeah, it's that sweet spot they're hitting really hard right now. But I'll give a plug for LinkedIn, is that it stays pretty professional from what I've seen. We've seen some weird stuff from guys trolling, you know, and I'm sure they're just competitors in equipment sales. And
shout out to Rose. If you go to our page,
you can
shout
see
out.
the comments. Actually, we should.
We don't hide behind it.
Yeah, we should just open that up and be like, hey, if you want to go on and comment on some of the stuff Rose has posted. I mean, and honestly, I think I know who that is, and that's where that. And some people are probably scared of social media for that reason. So there is a scenario, and I'm gonna call Rose out full on. I feel that's another person, right, and is using a name, and in that exchange is hiding behind a name, and I'm not even sure who that. I've heard it might even be his wife's name, but there's a person that is attacking another industry, or the same industry but another equipment manufacturer's product, saying that's not the way you shred tires.
Just go check it out.
Yeah,
we'll put
really,
a link
really weird.
in the comments.
But what I'm getting at is that it's someone attacking all the time, and this is where I learned a lot from Brett. This is one of the things that's just, you know, kill him with kindness. And he kind of let loose a little bit last week or week before. But for months, almost a year, it's been, thanks for your input, Rose. We just really appreciate you following along, you know, and it's stuff like that. But that, you know, that weirdness, I guess, is probably something that people shy away from in social media. But for us, I mean, look at all these relationships. Yeah. Aaron Young, you know, I've known him for a long time.
Shout out to Aaron.
Yeah, and we've been friends. We were friends social networking wise long before we even made face-to-face contact, which says a lot about all of that.
I've met so many people in the scrap community.
Because now he's
just
my
from Instagram.
Now he's my vice president of operations in Twin Falls.
It's funny how the world works.
It's so crazy.
So the tire world is humongous. There's so much to explore, not just recycling, like just the manufacturing of it.
Yes.
There's so much that I'm excited to see you dive into.
Yeah, I feel like we might have been here over an hour, so I apologize. I know we were bouncing all over the place.
I like it. We covered a lot, but at the end we talked about this. Tell everyone on Recycled Idaho what you're going to be launching here in the very next week.
Yeah.
What are you doing
Well,
out there?
it is exciting to announce because here I feel like I don't have enough time. Like we're all over the board, and I have so much more. Like
We could probably
there's
go
like
2 more hours.
Yeah, and there's little like I call them train tracks. Like through that whole conversation was little train tracks we could have went off on and had way more conversations, which is why I think it leads perfectly into Talkin Tires.
Yep.
Talkin Tires is our new podcast. So here, if you don't mind, I'll do the
Go
honors.
do it.
Yeah. So
Slap
this is,
it on.
right here in our media room.
Boom.
I love it.
So what are you going to be? You're going to
So tires,
Who are you gonna talk to?
everything tires. So
Everything.
tires new, tires used. Our first episode is Chase Cavanaugh, Vice President of Commercial Tire. Great story. New, used, rubber, recycling. I mean, anything and everything. The asphalt we're driving on, you're going to hear me say asphalt.
So they put
A
in the
lot.
asphalt too.
Oh, there's states that they're blown
So I'm
up
excited
with
to hear it
it's
because
like-
I don't know a lot about that world. And
Yeah, there's
I
so
used to
many
go
things.
to the ISRI events, and they used to have a lot of those crumb rubber guys there.
Yeah.
But I went last year, and there was like none, which
Yeah.
was weird.
Yeah.
So I'll be in Nashville here in 2 weeks, hoping to meet some of those guys. But I'm hoping, and I'm excited to listen to your podcast, man. I'm really excited.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah.
We'll be looking for it. Well, thanks for joining us, Craig.
All
Craig
right.
Hunter, everybody. Follow him on LinkedIn. Follow Tire Reclaim. Check out what we're doing. We'll put some links in some of these descriptions. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.